Howdy, y'all. Zach here. You may know me as the only STF cast member whose real name starts with a Z. You know, Z is actually the least used letter in the English language. True fact. Look it up. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the epic Tracer crew's daring escape from the prison moon of Gulta, the near deaths of Xeno 5 and Ziva, and the destruction of the Aslanti starship, the Zandamant, not to mention the continued thwarting of Sardat Zolan Ulavestra's plans. What I'm trying to say is, there are a disproportionate amount of words in this podcast with Z in them. I'm not mad about it, I'm just saying. Oh, we recently released our Tom Talks with the cast post-Book 2, as well as our STFU interview with Eleanor Farron, the author of Book 2, so go check those out if you haven't already for some great behind-the-scenes insights into both her writing and our running of Escape from the Prison Moon. You know where to find us in the Digisphere, so stop by and come say hey. We love hanging out with y'all. That's really all I got for you today. So let's get right into episode 39, Cedona Lisa Smile.
I was listening to episode 1 this weekend.
You're a bit behind, man. You need to catch up.
I don't know how you've made it this far.
You read book 3, dude?
Yeah. I'm going to get cut up one of these days, you know. No, I went back and listened to it because I just kind of wanted to see what y'all's mindsets were like when we first started this versus where we are now. Particularly the characters. And you guys were all just so chipper and sure of yourselves. And I mean, there was a little uncertainty there, but I think a lot of that was coming from us as players and just starting a podcast or whatever. But your characters all seemed pretty bombastic and certain of their roles right off the gate. The question I have for you now is, how are you feeling at this point? You know, two books deep, you know, complete or whatever. And we'll get into the details, of course, with our Tom Talks, but more from your characters' perspectives. Like, what's the biggest, you think, like, surprise or turnaround for your characters in the 2 books that we've had?
I mean, I'm still feeling bombastic and assured of my role in the party.
I mean, you say
good.
that,
But what has changed?
You say that, but there was certainly like 4 episodes where you were not feeling said role in bombastic. I mean, that we've talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good at one thing, and you nerfed me on it, so or the situation nerfed me.
I mean, you're really, I mean, I think you have your party members to blame for that. It was their idea to make you the Wookiee guy. I'm just saying.
Well, it's really Star Wars' fault.
It's really
yeah.
what we're talking about.
Well, let's just put everything on George Lucas. I mean,
That's fair.
let's pile it on, you know?
I mean, the fandom already does.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly, man. I'm sure you can take our load.
Do any of you feel like your characters are in a different place than you thought that they would be at
Xeno.
this stage? Yeah?
Yeah. I think he's a little bit more trepidatious about what may fucking happen. A bit more hesitant. I mean, you know, he was a bit more certain about his role, but I mean, since the events that have just taken place very recently, he's just a little bit more like, fuck me. You know, it's just like, good God. I mean, like, not only did the Aslanti hate androids more than I actually thought, but my God, probably going to have to put on some big boy pants, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that'll happen when you get knocked out 3 times in like one day.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Like, holy shit.
My God,
That's fucking Adam for you, man. No mercy. Sweeps those fucking legs.
Like, shot and stabbed and...
Yeah. Coup de grace, fucking shot in the head while already fucking down, and then shot like 2 more times, like falling unconscious twice, or like dying like 2 or 3 times, being dragged back a la fucking Hacksaw Ridge from fucking Josh's Felino, you know?
You're also still missing...
Hint.
You're also still missing a computer eye.
Yeah.
And the fucking eye. Are you kidding me? Like, at this point, I'd imagine fucking he's just like kind of sparks and just like every now and then just like repeats a fucking word. He's got a fucking big old dent in his head. You know?
He's got a hole in your head. You know?
Yeah, exactly. A couple of holes in the head. Could see like inner workings of the positronic brain. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to put Zeno down.
Well, that's your problem right there. You got a hole in your head and it's not supposed to be there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to steal too much thunder from Heath for our time talks, but I just wanted to... It was just interesting hearing you guys so optimistic in our first episode. You know, like...
Yeah. Well, I mean...
It's interesting.
I feel like Fel has gone from, you know... Hey guys, I'm a mechanic type guy, to, I mean, he's definitely battle hardened now, more so than he was before. And
yeah, I think we'll probably get into that here in a moment, right?
Yeah, but like the stark contrast between like panicking and freaking out with the zombies and stuff earlier on, compared to dragging his buddy out, like John said, Hacksaw Ridge style, dragging him back onto the ship. Like, that's a huge change in, you know, in him.
I want to raise my glass to each of you, because I sure tried my damnedest to kill you. I really did. I threw everything I had at you guys.
I'm not raising my glass to that.
Yeah, I toast that.
Adam, fuck you.
I'll toast it. Thwart it
I'll
again.
toast your ass on that shit, dude.
Y'all made it, and it made for a hell of an adventure, that's for sure. But that leads us to this episode.
Fantastic set.
Which you guys leveled up because of these experiences.
Yeah, we did.
And you have a 4-day journey back to Outpost Z. So I kind of want to turn the floor over to y'all, because I imagine there are some things to be discussed amongst yourselves as characters in this journey. Plus, you have Cedona and the other prisoners that you saved on the ship as well. Yeah, the last thing that happened is you guys went into the drift and then got 2 messages. One from Weldy and one from Tiffany. And that's kind of where we'll open the proceedings tonight, with you all on the bridge. I think, Fel, you're still back in the engineer room because it was like right after the fight and everything, but you heard it over the...
Yeah.
You know, Zeno put it on the loudspeakers for you to hear, so you heard the message, but I don't think you're up there on the bridge.
That is accurate, I would say.
All right.
So we're in this moment, like immediately after we received the messages, correct? Mm-hmm. All right. So Mike would be still staring at the hollow screen, or whatever sci-fi term you'd call it, for a few seconds in silence after that, and then he just reaches to his side and grabs his ashtray and throws it at the fucking wall and says, "That gormless fucking minge bag, I swear on my mother's grave, I'll fucking kill him."
Hey, easy. The fuck's got you so riled up?
Somebody grab a fucking bottle if we're gonna have that conversation.
Xeno's already grabbing the bottle.
Billy, this is a thing.
Yes.
What, drinking?
It is. This is going to take some time.
Yeah, well, the fact that Zeno would already be grabbing the bottle because he knew Mike would be upset, right?
You already knew, yeah.
Phil hears the crash of the ashtray against the wall and is like, "The fuck was that? We just got out of the battle. Why you trying to break us out from the inside? Like, come on, guys."
Nice.
He's like trying to calm himself down. So I mean, I imagine we'd go. I don't know actually how the ship is set up. I just have like a mental
we
view.
can
But
fucking, if you want to like have story time.
I mean,
Yeah, just go to the galley, you know?
Yeah, we're all rounding around the table, you know, at this point. I'm pouring drinks for everybody.
Tell Fel to meet you in the galley. I think Zeno probably would say, okay, everybody needs to meet in the galley, you know. Mike is upset and we need to have drinks.
Yeah,
I could go for a
and we
fucking
need
drink.
to have drinks.
Come on, everybody just get in the galley. We need to listen to the diva.
Zeno just got almost killed, and he still just cares so much about Mike's story.
Yeah.
I mean, they're best
Loyal
friends for a
AF.
reason, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's still pretty hurt, but yeah, I'm gonna take a shot.
Yeah, let's go ahead and downplay the fact that he was just shot, Heath. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. We're gonna have a
I'm
fight on
playing.
air. Is that what we're gonna do?
I'm playing with the buddy.
Oh, is that what we're doing tonight?
radio right there.
I don't think
He says
I can
as he
heal
takes a shot.
anyone until tomorrow.
Yeah, this is what happens when I turn it over to the kids, y'all.
All right. So
we
everyone
all
gathers
gathered?
in the galley. I mean, Mike's gonna fucking sit down at the table with the bottle and just start pouring shots for whoever wants them. He says, "Look, you guys saw the video from Typhon, and she mentioned this fella Gardenzio snooping around the APA, saying he's owed something, right? So,
Yeah.
look, I got to go a ways back to kind of explain this. When I was little, my home planet of Najin Coruscant was invaded by the Aslanti when I was like 8. They killed my mother, my father was captured, I got knocked out, and the next thing I know, I've been picked up by this fella Gardenzio, who runs a merc outfit called the Gardeners. He fancies himself a bit of a botanist on the side.
That's cute.
But for years I lived with the Gardeners. They're based out of the diaspora. And, you know, once I hit about 12 years old, I was a big lad, and they started putting me into training to be a mercenary. And they realized they might have a moneymaker on their hands, and that's why they decided to put me in the boxing circuit. And that's what started my career. So, years later, I'm in my late 20s, almost 30, and I've been doing really well. I've strung together a bunch of wins throughout the system in the Vesk circuit, and I'm not one of the top guys, but I'm getting there. I'm in like the top 10 of the rankings, right? So I have a big fight coming up against this guy that's a bit of a bruiser. And it comes time for the fight, and I get in there, and it's long. It's a slobber knocker. It goes the whole 12 rounds, right? But I get to about the 10th or 11th round, and I'm winning on points. And I look over and I see Gardenzio talking to the judges. And that makes me a bit suspicious, but I don't question it. And we get to the end of the fight, and I know I've won. I've won the fight. I had to have. I was just the better man. But the judges called him the winner. So after the fight, devastated, because this was going to be my shot. This potentially could have led to a title shot in another fight or so. I could have been the champion of the world. So I go and I confront Gardenzio, and I ask him, what were you talking to the judges about? And he's a bit sheepish at first. And I threatened him a little bit, as you do. And I come to find out he had he had rigged the fucking fight. He paid off the judges so that the only way that I would win is with a knockout. If it went all the way, they were going to declare him winner on points. And I just couldn't fucking knock him out. I couldn't do it. So I find this out, and it breaks my heart. This is my career. This is my chance. If I win this fight, I'm a shoe-in for a title fight. Everything I ever wanted. So I saw red. I lost my shit. And I told Gardenzio I was quitting the outfit. I wasn't going to do no more jobs with him. I wasn't going to fight no more fights for him. And then I took his prized plant, a rare purple flower in a vase, and I smashed it on his fucking head. And then I walked out, and his boys tried to stop me, and I broke one of their jaws and one of their arms, and I left. And then I drank myself nearly to death for a few years, and then the whole business with Xeno happened, and I started the APA, and everything's been relatively fine ever since. But the last thing I ever said to Gardenzio is I don't owe you a fucking thing. Because he always made it out like I owed him for bringing me up, for saving my life from the Aslanti. And now, years later, I haven't seen or spoken to this man in years, and he comes snooping around my business, my respectable business, talking about he's owed crop share, which is his cheeky way of saying I owe him something for him bringing me up because I start my own business. So if I see this man, I'm likely to kill him. And if I do, I'm likely to go to prison again.
Yeah, you don't want to do that, Mike.
I don't want to, but I can't promise I won't. And he takes a shot.
Xeno pours him another.
My man.
Well, Mikael, we're not back on Absalom just yet, so I don't think you have to worry about him as of right now, but whenever we get there, we will face this problem together, yes? You have us now.
I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Just understand, this is a very, very painful thing for me, and this is unfinished business.
Cedona speaks up at this point. She says, Mike, why did you never tell me about this? So much makes sense now, and please don't go to prison again. You barely missed a lifetime sentence as it was.
Well then, he should have followed his better judgment and never come poking around to find me again.
Michael. And she just kind of shakes her head and kind of rubs her head because it's obviously still really hurting her.
So look, anyways, that's something very personal to me. I don't tell nobody about it. Xeno only knew bits and bobs. But look, everybody's in a bad way. I'm sure everybody needs some healing. I just figured I needed to get that out of the way sooner rather than later.
It is good to have the knowledge, but you're right, we all are a little bit banged up. Some of us, and she looks over at Zeno, a little more than others. How are you, my friend?
Well, I could be worse. I could be dead on the moon of Gulta.
You've got a hole through your head.
I have noticed. It seems a little bit more airy than normal.
There's this odd whistling sound.
Exactly. Every time that I run, I can hear a whistle.
I've always seen in the movies that you're supposed to pour whiskey on a wound, right? And you're like,
Probably not
please
this
don't.
time. Please
Pours
don't.
out the back of his head. Please don't.
yeah,
Error.
I've killed him.
Oh, God. So we all just sitting around.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I will say that after that little bit, I will award Heath an inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, that
you
means
go.
something new now.
It does. So, Heath, I'd like you to roll me a D10, please.
A D10.
Yep.
Okay. 4.
Okay, so that looks like... All right, you are going to... This is a co-inspiration, if you guys remember. Our Patreon subscribers get to send out a message.
Yeah.
This one is from our top possum pal, Mr. Daniel Harrington,
Dan.
Hey,
O2,
Dan.
Dan the
What
man.
up, buddy?
from
Howdy.
Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I think that this is a fitting message, given that you're about to go to sleep and probably taking some pills before you go to sleep. Just make sure, here's his message, that you never take a laxative and a sleeping pill on the same night. That's his message of inspiration for you.
Wise words.
So-
Logic is sound.
That's solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
solid thinking right there.
Cheers, Dan.
Yep.
Thank you for the sage
Cheers,
advice.
Yes. Heath, you now have a Daniel inspiration if you want to put that in your inventory.
Okay. Cool.
Come on, dude. It's a Danspiration, dude. Like,
The yeah, right. right.
Yeah,
It's
you
so,
missed an
like, so
opportunity.
obvious,
Golden
man, come on.
opportunity.
A little disappointed,
Inspiration.
or whatever.
I'll give up all my inspirations. So yeah, I think the most prudent thing here is, I mean, yeah, you guys are pretty winded, given... I want you to just take into consideration that everything that happened in the prison, which started in episode, what was it, 30?
30 or 29.
29, right? From 29 until this moment has been 2.5 hours.
2.5
God, that's crazy.
fucking
Jesus.
terrible hours.
Oh my God, that's not Earth
So-
hours. That's like I don't know what. God.
So I think that before you guys can, I mean, Cedona is like, I am exhausted. I need sleep. I am still not right. And all the other prisoners, first of all, they scarf down the food that's provided at dinner. They haven't eaten in a while. Yeah. And but like as soon as the food hits, everybody starts going into that food coma. And like all your aches and wounds and scratches start becoming very, very visceral to your
The
sensation.
battle high dies
And-
off.
Yeah, and so you start finding cuts and grazes and burns and bruises that you didn't know you had. Muscles are torn that you didn't know existed prior to this. I mean, you're winded. So I think the best thing is everybody go to bed and we wake up the next morning. Now I want to talk about your level ups, but you know how I like to do it. So you've got 4 days. You also probably want to talk to Cedona. It is the next morning on the ship as you're traveling through the drift, and you're looking out in the drift, and it's this weird emptiness with this kind of purple white haze that just kind of permeates through it. You know, it's what you wake up to. What are y'all doing on this? What's next for the Epic Tracer crew?
So I would think that first thing in the morning, Orin and Cedona would probably be the ones that were just like filing them in and to the infirmary or the medical lab and trying to get everybody healed
let's
up.
say that
you know?
Cedona comes to your door probably early in the morning. And are you awake already? Say it's 6:30
yeah.
in the morning.
Oh yeah.
All right. So she knocks on your door. There's
Come
a knock
here.
on your cabin door.
Yeah.
Anyway. It slides open. And she steps in. She says, "Orin,
Deja vu.
yeah, indeed. It is good to see you. I think we have some work to do. I think there are some here that need us to tend to them. Would you care to join me and show me what you've learned with your mystic connection over the years?"
Sure. Put my boots on.
Yeah, while she's kind of still talking to you,
Sure.
and there'll be like a walk and talk as you go to the infirmary. And she'll be like, so, have you embraced your connection to Ibra? I know when we last spoke, you were still reluctant.
Well, I haven't gotten any more answers, if that's what you're asking.
I already know that you won't get answers, my dear boy. You need this as well. Have you embraced the gift that she has given you?
I've learned to harness it in new ways. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve, I guess. But I worry that at any moment it could all be lost. Who knows why any of this is happening to me? I don't know. And Orin just kind of hangs his head for a second, you know.
She reaches over and, puts a finger under your chin, lifts it back up and, locks eyes with you. She says, Orin, whether it was fate or coincidence, you are here and I am here because you came.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Do not hold your head. You have done well. Now let's go help your friends and these companions that you have.
Yes, ma'am. And Orin jauntily, a little more jauntily walks towards the med lab. Just a little less somber in his step.
I imagine you probably put out kind of on your communicator too to meet y'all in the med lab.
Yeah, I sent out a group text. What up?
Meet me in the med lab, yo.
What up, med lab?
Free heals. Hit me up.
Yeah, free heals in the med lab. All right, so that's where Cedona and Orin will be. Let's talk. Emily, you haven't said much. What is Ziva doing this morning? What is going through her head when she wakes up this morning?
As soon as Ziva wakes up, pretty much, she stands up, gets dressed, and starts wrapping her hands. And as soon as the sleep is good and out of her eye, she pulls out her sword and starts practicing. That's what Ziva's doing until she hears Orin come over the comms.
Ibra works in mysterious ways.
Who's this Zach? She's kind of in her head a lot. She literally saw a lot of her people go down multiple times, including herself, and that kind of shook her pretty hard.
Not only were you kind of thrust into the captain role by Sedona's letter, but then even Mike and the others, when you first arrived at Nikondas, were pretty adamant about you stepping up into a captain role. How is Ziva feeling about her captaincy so far?
I think the biggest thing that I could say is Ziva realizes that there's a vast difference between being a leader and being a captain. The captaincy has required a lot more of her physically than being a leader at the pools has, and she's really trying to, knuckle down, is that the phrase? And be better. She wants to work more with Mike. She wants to be able to be quicker, to be stronger, to be able to protect her crew. And
if I could give you something that Ziva might could at least put a feather in her cap. The crew successfully retrieved Cedona. Nobody died. Mm-hmm. And you also saved the lives of 4 others as well.
A couple people died, but
one mad lizard folk.
Yeah, and that super sweet
slug. And the slug, right?
Yeah. Guy.
I'll drink to grub.
Yeah, I'll drink to grub too.
Rip grub.
F for grub in the chat.
F for grub in the chat.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. Are you going to go to the med lab when you hear the call?
Yeah, she is going to put her sword on her back and head that away.
Head to the med lab. All right. What about Fel? you wake up this morning.
Yeah, Fell is actually awoken when receiving the message, so he'll be a little bit late getting to the med lab. But when he wakes up, he does so with a start and, is kind of having, not like PTSD style, but like, flashbacks, reliving the previous day and going over things that he did while looking at the armor that he was wearing, sitting in his room. He gets up to go walks over towards the armor and just kind of starts tracing his finger around various cuts and gashes and breaks and stuff in it that in the moment he didn't realize were there. And, just kind of sits down on his bunk and loses himself in the moment and just kind of, I don't know. I mean, it was a hell of a day, and dealing with all of that trauma for someone who's not used to it, he's definitely in kind of a bad way mentally for himself.
Well, you also got to probably be thinking back to the conversation that you had with Cedona when she asked you to join and warned you that there would be things.
Yeah, for sure.
You're joining a cause, not a crew,
Yeah, and that, didn't really sink in until, like, now. Because in the moment, it was just everything happening. And then after the fact, he's in it. So,
yeah.
He's going to delay for a while, just kind of in his own thoughts, and make his way to the med lab, I don't know, in a few minutes or so.
Okay. And Zeno.
After waking up, Zeno is, he's expecting his heads-up display to show the stats from his auto-diagnostic from sleep, only to realize, his computer is no longer with him. He doesn't get that auto-diagnostics anymore. And I'm sure he's reminded of that, a quick flash of the Aslanti crushing his cybernetic eye, and only for that to be interrupted by the flares of pain that are just radiating from him. So instead of an auto-diagnostic, he's feeling it much more in a human way. And, he gets up and walks up to the full-length mirror just to get lost in the sight of all his wounds. Some wounds he remembers, others he has no recollection, like, at all. And it's just kind of surreal as he's just sitting there staring at it. And he's just tracing his fingers along the wounds by the time he actually hears over the intercom Aaron mentioning to come to the med bay if you need any assistance. So with that, he's just gonna...
When you hear that announcement about the med lab, your one eye rolls back in its head, and you are overwhelmed with a vision of purple, and you're taken back to that lab where there was the soldier trapped to the chair. And it's just very quick, but just this image of him in total and utter pain, like over his face, like veins popping out of his forehead, his arms and his chest rippling and cascading as he just sits there and screams in pain. And just when you think he can't take it anymore, his screams of pain turn into laughs. And then he bites his tongue clean off. Blood starts pouring out of his mouth. And the doctor next to you, she shakes her head and says, "Failed again. Terminate the test." And one of the soldiers that was standing next to him puts a bullet right in his head, kills him. And then purple flash back as you hear the tail end of Oren's call.
And with that, he's just kind of perplexed a little bit, but he recovers, but at the same time, you don't see any change on his face, but he is studying that in his head for a little bit as he makes his way down the hallway towards the med bay.
Well, he's only got half a face anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely in that like Terminator mode where like you know, like the top half of it, all the skin's been removed, and it's just
yeah.
I don't understand that reference, but okay.
nobody is surprised.
Precious. Emily.
I feel like I could just sink down in some lava right now.
With a giant middle finger going down into the lava.
Fuck you. So once you all arrive in the med bay, I'm sorry, Mike. My bad. What's Mike doing in the morning? I forgot.
I was like, oh, come on, man. Mike is going to sleep late. He's going to be the last one to get there because he stayed up brooding with his bottle of liquor and, in fact, fell asleep with it in his hand on his chest. But I kind of had this, vision in my head cinematically of like when Zeno was like staring into the mirror and contemplating everything that went on, like having, Mike also, like when he gets up and is hungover, stares into the mirror for a little bit and while also looking at like the new scars and stuff that are on him, he looks and notices like where those new scars intersect with his like lattice work of tattoos. And there's a new scar on his arm that intersects a tattoo, an old faded tattoo of a flower, like of a flower, which is the symbol of Gardenzio's gang. So he's like both hungover, still contemplating the whole Gardenzio situation, but also feeling a bit of that like hangover shame, not at the hangover itself, but about getting so wrapped up in his own mental, his own memories and all that he didn't even pay attention to how wounded his best friend was at the time, so he's feeling a little bit ashamed about that and shitty from, the alcohol leaving his system.
Hungover as hell.
Yeah, and he then he stares in the mirror for a little bit, kind of rubs his tattoo, and then he's gonna go and get his healing, but he has a new sense of determination after he leaves the mirror that as soon as he gets healed up, he, much like Ziva, is gonna start hitting the gym and trying to get better so that he can stop something like that from ever happening again.
All right. So everybody eventually makes their way to the med bay, kind of one by one. We'll start with Zeno as you walk in. Now, at the end of the day, you have 4 days here, so you guys are going to be able to probably heal all the way up.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd have to roll or anything.
Yeah, we're not going to roll, but I do want to kind of have the scene where Zeno walks in first. He gets there before anybody else does and goes ahead and sits in the chair. And you have Oren and Cedona kind of working on either side of him, trying to put his face back together, and stitch up some of these wounds and all that.
Yeah, and I mean, the weird thing about that is I'm pretty sure that magic does cure synthetic android body wounds in the same way that it would human flesh, which is like,
for one, it's magic.
Undo the wound. Like, I mean, his face just comes back, the hole in his head, just little circuits.
I'm both humanoid and construct.
Yeah. So we'll say that normally that's instantaneous, but just while this is happening, Zeno, is there anything that you want to say to Cedona or?
Well, I just wanted to, first off, just like report over to Oren, just to kind of give him like, my own, not really the thoughts, it's not like the patient, like, well, I looked at WebMD, this is but,
you're just talking about like the statistical approaches. You're giving like all the
just kind of like going down like the from the top to the bottom. I mean, because he's even displayed that there was, because he, as he was just mentioning, he thinks that magic would work on humanoid constructs, and so I just kind of like I pick up on that a little bit, and just like when. My frame is a bit brittle over in these locations, and he's pointing around on his body, you know, and it appears my motor functions are not responding over here. And it appears my subroutines are a bit dampened. If you could, I believe magic
turns
might
out
work on that.
WebMD says I definitely have cancer.
So the whole
They
time
say that
Xeno,
bullets to your forehead are bad for your health.
yeah, look, the whole time that Xeno is like laying all this stuff, Orin looks dumbfounded, right? Like, and he just shakes his head when Xeno's done and says, "Well, you know more than I do, big guy. It's all jazz with me, baby. I don't know what to tell you. I'll do my
I'll
best.
let you know if you're doing anything wrong." And at that, he just kind of moves his head almost android, well, you know, more robotic like towards Cedona, and he's just like, "Cedona, I feared the worst. I thought we were too late. Too much time and too many distractions, too many mistakes. But it appears that fate is not done with you." Almost ironically, you know.
She says, "Yes, well, fate or not, my faith in the five of you proved to be well-founded. Thank you, Xeno, and I have more to say once everyone arrives, but..."
Because I am
She
yeah.
like really pauses for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I'm glad that you were here with them.
I think that this party, without my assistance, probably would have fared better. Sometimes I think to myself, but in other times I do feel like I'm a good spiritual leaning post, so to speak, for our big lizard here. But I do think that that this party is grateful to have my assistance.
I know I sure am.
Yeah, she's kind of looking to Orin to see how Orin reacts because she has her own thoughts about Xeno.
Yeah.
But obviously, you guys have traveled together.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything about any of that. And I look at Cedona
Right.
and Orin's like, "Yeah, the kid's solid, good as gold."
Good as gold.
He definitely shows some talent, and yes, I do think that you provide a certain rock or foundation for Mike. And at that, then Mike walks in to the med lab.
Oh, hey guys, are we bragging on Xeno?
Something like that.
Speaking of rocks,
Speaking of rocks,
Come on over
you
here, big guy.
motherfucker. I thought I heard some mild racism in the hallway.
Yikes.
No, so he like walks up and kind of positions himself with Xeno on one side and Cedona on the other and looks back and forth between them. And
I imagine that chair just creaks when you sit down on it, you know?
yeah, for sure. And he at first he like looks at Xeno and then he looks at Cedona and then he looks at Xeno and then he looks at Cedona and then back at Xeno and he says, "Are you all right?" As his like face is stitching up, you know.
Well, without Orin, I would probably be a little worse. But as far as I know, I don't know how I even got to this ship. To be perfectly honest.
And at that point, in walks Fel and Ziva. You guys kind of meet like right outside the door, kind of arriving there at the same time.
All right.
Ziva just kind of nods. She looks kind of a little stoic almost, but she's like, "Yep, let's get healed."
Oh, come on, lighten up. And Fel walks in the room.
So Phil walks in before Ziva.
Yeah.
But like literally moments.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it just doesn't hold the door open. Is what is. No.
Sliding doors.
I don't know. Phil
There
is
you
no
go.
Southern
There you
gentleman or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, he's
Like, fuck
he's
this
not
bitch.
really that much of a gentleman.
Fuck this, bro.
I don't think
that
it's
may
quite
be
so
as
much fuck this
extreme.
bitch as it is. Yeah, I think it's more just like lack of awareness than
I know.
like outright hostility.
And like
I know.
is not aware of like decorum surrounding the position of a captain or whatever. But he walks in and sees Xeno's face being, reconstructed. And he's like, man, magic is fucking weird. Like, that's cool as shit, but like, what the fuck? And
Yeah, you can say that again.
Agreed.
Morning
Agreed
to you
on all
too,
counts.
Phil.
Yeah, good morning, Xeno. I'm glad you're okay, man. Like, honestly, I thought, hell, I didn't even know if you were still alive.
I didn't either.
Well, you are, and you did help fight in the starship combat, so...
Oh, shit, yeah, you're right. Damn it. Well, no, in the moment, he didn't know that. Like, when he was dragging him back to the ship, he didn't know.
That's a fair point. He could have absolutely said that. He didn't even know, but he carried him anyway.
Yeah, that is
you know
fair.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking carried him anyway.
But Xeno still doesn't know who carried him in or how the fuck he got on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trying to set you up there, John.
That doesn't tell me that you carried me in there, bro.
Oh, I assumed you heard him say that. I don't even know how I got on the ship as we walked through the door.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Just trying to set you up there, Josh.
There we go.
Touche. Well, I mean, he's not going to go in and be a braggart about it. But anyways.
By the way,
But no,
Oh,
Xeno,
was
I
anybody
honestly...
talking about heroes? No. Sorry.
somebody call for a hero. But Xeno, I mean, I just... You got hit, you went down, I started dragging you, and I just didn't stop. You got hit again. In the moment, I had no idea if you were still there.
It's dawning on Xeno now.
If I was just dragging the husk of you. Like, I mean, fuck, and he just kind of
Wait, Felina, are you...
loses himself into stammering and just
But
starts getting a little bit emotional.
Sedona walks over to you and says, Fel. And just she has this huge smile on her face. She's like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew you had it in you. I knew you were more than just a mechanic. Your heart is too big to just put together machines.
I mean, fuck, I couldn't just leave him there.
You didn't. That's the important thing. I couldn't be more proud of you, Fel. Thank you.
At this point, that has dawned on Xeno finally. That it's just like, but wait, so you were the one that dragged me onto the spaceship.
Yeah.
Last I checked, last I recall, I was on the outer surface of the moon, and then everything went black. I had assumed that it was Michael that took me back onto the ship. But that was you?
Yeah, it was me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, without you here, I'd still be on the moon. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm shaken, but... And at that point, he just goes ahead and just gives him the whole, forearm shake, you know?
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say you were shaken?
I knew
to
it.
say.
Fucking knew it.
You gotta watch that for 4 days.
You know what? I'll take that condition. I'll get rid of that in 4 days, man.
So at this point, everybody's in there and kind of like piecing together, kind of talking about what happened, you know. Ziva, you walk in last and you see your entire crew kind of thanking each other, hugging each other, glad to be alive. Sedona's standing there, and when she sees you, that smile that she gave Fel just radiates to you. And she doesn't even have to say a word. She just looks at you. Your eyes lock. She kind of nods, and she raises up a salute to you. She says, Captain on deck of the Epic Tracer, and stands and salutes you.
As she brings her hand up, Ziva kind of walks very quickly and kind of very heel to toe and kind of grabs Cedona by that wrist and pulls her in for a huge kiss, and then pulls back, and she is just smiling, and you see tears kind of flowing down her face, and she says, I'm so sorry when we got you. I wasn't trying to be. I didn't want to fall apart when we were still there. I'm so glad you're all right. I'm so glad that everyone is all right. And thank you for bringing us together. And she's just going to give Cedona a huge hug and just kind of hold her for a second and sort of kind of cry onto her shoulder, literally. And
Cedona certainly returns the embrace, all pretext of formality gone, as she gives you this deep hug, all of your history tied up into the emotion here. And I'm going to give you an inspiration, Emily. So I want you to roll a d8 for me, please.
Okay. A 4.
Oh. All right. Well, this one comes from Brian Fuchs, otherwise known as Old Scratch Johnson.
Yeah, Brian.
He also provided me with a dice. I'm sorry, Brian, I couldn't kill him with it. I certainly tried.
Oh, he's trying.
However, Brian from Roswell says, hey, all. It was fantastic meeting you in Atlanta, and I look forward to every episode. Good luck to whoever gets this inspiration. You're going to need it. So you got an old scratch inspiration.
Old scratch-spiration.
Scratch-spiration.
Yeah.
The old Scratch Johnsoni.
Wow. Reaching.
Yeah, well, you know. So, everybody gets in the room. Okay. Cedona says, she kind of looks across the room. She says, friends, I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me. Flying all the way into Aslante's space, breaking into a highly secured prison moon, and God know what else just to rescue this old shell. I am humbled, but our tasks are not complete. And she brushes a strand of hair out of her eyes. She says, surely by now you have learned of the existence of an artifact called the Rune Drive. I had a chance to examine the device up close for a short time, and I was able to sense only an inkling of its power. Should the Aslanti Star Empire gain full control over this technology and learn how to travel vast interstellar distances without the use of drift engines, then all systems everywhere will fall under their shadow. We must do whatever it takes to retrieve or destroy the Rune Drive. I ask once more, are you with me?
You didn't have to ask. Fuck those Aslanti bastards. Nothing would bring me more pleasure than knocking the skulls off each and every one of them.
Mike high fives you.
That was well put, Arwen. I would have to agree with that sentiment. They cannot continue to have that Rune Drive. Anything that happens with that Rune Drive from this point forward is of utmost importance, and we need to get it out of their hands immediately.
A simple yes would have sufficed, but thank you, Zeno. No, she doesn't actually say that. She actually extends a very confident and assured hand to you, Zeno.
And he reciprocates.
Ziva, Captain.
The captain, of course, must lead her crew, and there is no greater a cause than fucking with this Aslanti as much as possible, yes? And she just kind of smiles her original Ziva grin. So, absolutely.
And you, Phil.
I mean,
You still have a little left in you?
of course. I mean, come on. You know me. But I'm with Orin, completely on board with what he said. Knock every single skull off their shoulders that I can.
And she's like, awesome. And
Okay. Julio.
Well, you twist my arm about it.
Cool.
Cool.
Noise.
she says, yeah, she obviously suggests to go back to Outpost Z to improve your starship. She understands that there is some preparations that'll be needed, and then she says, unfortunately, the torture that the Aslanti put upon me they destroyed my memory. They reached into my brain and removed my memories. All I remember is that I was brought from Necondus to Gulta. Short time after that, I was taken to a site that I only overheard called Orelos. I have no idea where that is. And then I was returned to Gulta sometime later. I remember that Zolon Nulavestra himself tortured me and interrogated me, trying to find out what I had learned about the rune drive. I don't know what I told him. I don't remember anything beyond that. All I can say is that I believe that the rune drive is being kept on this Orelos. I am glad that the stewards have deputized you, but I need some time to meditate, trying to recover my memory. I will need days, maybe a week, maybe longer. I don't know. I'm going to reach out with every bit of magic I have. I would suggest in the meantime that you ask around any contacts that you have made on Outpost Z about this Orelos. That certainly must be our next target. I'm sorry that I can't remember more.
We'll get him for you.
It's probably best that you don't remember everything. And she kind of gives Cedona kind of a deep look that's a bit more meaningful than just a passing glance.
Sense motive.
Okay. So that we'll call that the end of that scene there. Now, what I want you to talk to me about in the last bits of this is, what do you do over the next 2.5, 3 days to level up? So I want to get into that. You guys got to level 5, but I'm going to go through. Let's start with Ziva and Mike, because you guys mentioned you were going to do some gym training. Is this related to your level ups?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's start with you guys. And talk to me about what gym life is like for Mike and Ziva over the course of the next couple days.
Just a couple of gym rats, doing it up.
It's just all
You
muscle
don't
Gym
milk,
Yosokis.
So, whereas traditionally, when he's been training in the gym with or without Ziva, Mike's usually in gym attire, He comes into the gym on that first day fully armored, completely armored, and everything that he's doing, insofar as what he's trying to improve in his battle techniques, is intentionally trying to position himself between attacks and other like training dummies and stuff. So he's probably having Ziva try try to attack training dummies and stuff, and he's trying to intentionally put himself in harm's way, because the feat I took is called In Harm's Way, and it allows me to not only, like, whereas I had the bodyguard feat, this is an upgrade for the bodyguard feat, which I also still have, but as opposed to just being able to increase an adjacent ally's AC while taking -2 AC for myself, this allows me to take their damage. Take the damage from a hit upon an ally. Wow. It's a super tanky feat, and it's very much tied into
like full on tanking.
Yeah, well, and it's very much tied into his seeing Xeno and Ziva. Shit, everybody getting knocked the fuck out all the time in this last bit, but particularly the kind of emotional toll that's been taken on him is almost losing his best friend Xeno a couple of times, where if he could have taken a hit for him, it might have been the deciding factor.
Awesome. And what about you, Ziva?
So it kind of works out that Mike is kind of working harder to be taking the hits in a sense. Ziva is not wearing armor. She's intentionally trying to make herself harder, make it easier for her to take hits, be quick, move around, not be encumbered by bulky armor. And she's wanting to take hard hits from Mike. She's asking him, come at me, full at me. Because one of the things that she took after their very harrowing experience, after seeing so many people go down and going down herself, she took the Die Hard feat.
Oh, neat. I don't know if everyone knows what that is, but I fucking do.
So Ziva's new mentality is, if somebody's going down, it needs to be her. So she's trying to do as much as she can to stay in the fight and keep her crew alive no matter what. With Die Hard, you have to spend that resolve point when you go down to stabilize, and then the next round you get additional. I'm having a brain fart. Yeah, but essentially with Die Hard, you get to spend your resolve point to stabilize and one resolve point to stay in the fight.
Oh, it allows you to do that in one go.
In one go, yes.
Wow,
that's really cool. I think as a gym session over a few days, it'd be interesting because Mike and Ziva have a strangely almost fatalistic connection. We'll fucking be the ones to go down if we need to, for the party. You trying to step up as my off tank?
Really, I mean, apparently.
Mothkala walks by one of the days and sees y'all just beating the shit out of each other, just in there, grunt, just it almost looks disturbing. Mm-hmm. The amount, you guys are pushing each other to basically take as much pain as you can, because you don't want to be in a situation where that shakes you again, right? Yeah. And Mothkala walks by. She says, "This is the best way." Yes! Yes! And she gets in on one of the days and starts tussling with y'all, and just she feels better than she has in a long time,
Absolutely.
She's starting to fill out some of not, she's still malnourished, but she's had some food, she's had some rest, and she gets in there, and you see that when she was in her prime, she was pretty much a badass. So
yeah. So I think
she's all about it.
I think that's awesome, and I was hoping something would come up with Mothkala, and I'm not going to try to push it too hard, but I think after a little bit of time of her getting back to some semblance of her former self and getting a little more healthy, Mike's keeping an eye on Mothkala as maybe a love interest.
Holla.
Holla, Mothkala.
They have some shared experiences, Everybody else has got dates lined up,
Yeah. Okay, I can keep that in mind. So, you guys, is that pretty much it for your level ups?
That's what's pertinent to my level.
That's that's the bulk. All right, so Xeno, after your hearing experience, what are you doing over the next couple days to increase your power?
So, Xeno he's decided that he's going to begin a regimen of 2 things. Primarily mind meditation to focus on the latent energies around him and try to harness them in various ways and how to manipulate the nanites in his system. And with that,
the nanites.
Yes, wants to actually try to improve the nanites in the system, and I think he's going to, over the course of the next few days, speak with Felino with that on how that can be improved, how they can be optimized to be easier to manipulate. And see what can come out of that, and kind of get some ideas from Fel as far as how those can be. Any other ideas that could take place that could assist with combat.
Right, and this translates into
a couple of spells. First, so it's going to be microbot assault.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
so you don't have to get into the details. You can save that for when you drop it.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, as well as caustic conversion, and as well as a level 1 spell slot of grease, and also more having to do.
Here's what you do with grease.
Exactly.
You put it down, and everything gets real slippery.
Oh man, grease is easy.
Yeah, that's how you get shit
hate
slippery,
it, but
real
it's
quick.
easy.
Yeah. Here, we can just put it in this compartment here,
Well, I think it makes sense considered that you were just chased down, right? So having some
leftover
aspect, having some aspect of like making it more difficult to follow you and that type of stuff. I think that makes sense. Yeah. Absolutely.
Also, having to do with the mind meditation helps him out with magic negation, which he's going to take as his new magic hack.
Oh, and what does that do?
Let's see. It's a standard action. I can spend a resolve point, and it to temporarily suppress magic as if using dispel magic.
Oh wow! That's
so it's either on an ongoing spell or a magic item within 30 feet in front of you. And
so basically, you can
cast
dispel magic with your resolve points now.
Right. Exactly.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, Oren.
Okay, so Oren's got a lot on his mind, after going through all this, and he would never admit it, I think, but all of the mind thrusts, like the mental invasions and things, I gotta imagine that's pretty taxing on him, and he would be thinking of ways to keeping Cedona's, words in mind, with embracing his connection to use it as a weapon in new and creative ways. And whenever Mike and Zeev aren't in the training room, Oren will slip off in there over the course of the few days, and he'll start utilizing the same sort of techniques that he used to create a wisp, like materializing that energy and creating a mostly solid form out of it. And he's going to start molding it and shaping it into a disc, and he's going to start figuring out how to manipulate and throw it and have it bounce around the room to hit multiple targets, because that's, seeing that massive swarm of Aslanti running at him got him thinking, I've only got so many bullets in my gun, I can only, thrust a mind at a time, and he needs some crowd control. So Oren is going to channel all that energy into learning Hurl Force Disc.
Nice. Very nice. Awesome.
Also took a feat that is versatile specialization.
So now you're going to get damage.
Now I'm going to get to add my level to my damage rolls on my rifle.
Very nice.
We'll get into that, I think, more at Outpost Set.
Yeah. Okay, and Fel.
So before walking to the med lab on the first day, he sets his custom rig, or the AI that he has implanted in him, to figure out what happened when he tried to remote hack that camera, and it worked.
It's like,
and
it
then
just happened. I don't know how. Shouldn't have been able to do that.
And then he couldn't do it again.
Right.
So he's basically setting his exocortex to get to work on that, figure out how that worked, and to figure out how to remote hack stuff, which is something that mechanics get, or exocortex mechanics get, at level 5. So there's that.
And
level
then
3.
not level 3. And then
listen, before you go further on
Yeah.
that, I just want to say that's a very cool way to retro fit that, and like I think it's cool that you got like this surge of it, but then you didn't understand it, and now you're taking the time to learn it. And for that, I'm going to give you an inspiration.
yay!
All right, so now I want you to roll a d6, please.
That is a 2.
This one is going to come from Bear.
Oh boy.
Oh God. Oh God.
And with Bear, we have some options because it's Bear. So what I'm going to need you to do is roll a d4.
1. Forever with the low rolls for me.
Okay. This one is going to be kind of to the group rather than directly to you, but it's a good one. From Bear, and Bear is from Morristown, New Jersey. So Connor, that's his actual name. I'm putting it out there.
Jay-Z.
Sorry, Bear.
What? What?
Yep.
He's a fucking Connor?
Wow.
This is how we treat our patrons.
Yeah, really.
No.
All right, so from Bear, from New Jersey, he says, just like you folks have hit your stride and put together a show of top-notch quality as a bunch of gutsy amateurs, the epic Tracer crew has passed trial by fire and become an insurgency to be reckoned with. Admittedly, Ziva may not be as good a captain as Adam is a showrunner.
You fucking wrote
We can scratch
this.
that last part. Oh, Bear.
This isn't Bear.
Yeah. So thanks, Bear. They're going to give me shit about this for the rest of the week, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
He's probably
Thank you,
sitting over there
Bear,
fist
for the
pumping like,
kind words,
"Yes."
in all seriousness.
Can I just say,
But yeah,
I did character art of his character from their podcast, and he's gonna call me out like that? I'm hurt.
Bear, after you listen to this episode, you better jump in the Discord, and you got some splaining to do. You know what I'm saying?
we got some
Explaining to
explaining
do.
to do, Bear. Well, that's the beauty of these co-inspirations, y'all. So get them in because anything can happen. Fel, you have a Bear inspiration.
Nice.
Okay.
Adam. A bear-spiration, dude. Come on, man.
I don't know what's happening. I think he's having a stroke or something. Ah, jeez. Bless.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pray for him.
I
Well,
think he
you
has
know, Adam,
frequent.
forever the showman, you know?
I think he has frequent strokes, just judging by his horrible typos every time he messages me.
Yeah, I'm really bad at the typos.
He either has the
situations, but-
fattest fingers in the world or epilepsy.
Literal hot dog fingers.
Yeah.
I think we've
Sorry.
lost the
Well,
plot
I'm
at
used
this
to
point,
play-
folks.
Sorry.
Yeah. So you guys have all leveled up.
Hold
you
on,
guys have-
I'm not done.
Oh,
bud.
I'm sorry. You have more.
I've got
my
more.
bad.
I got more.
All right.
So after setting up his exocortex to work on the remote hack ability, he is going to approach probably Mike, realistically, because he's the big tough guy, and
Sup,
ask
bruv?
for some personal, some gym time, but not. So Mike, look, I'm not strong. You know that. Everybody knows that. I'm physically, I'm just not. But I was thinking maybe you might be able to help me a little bit with, I don't know, not getting hit as much, being able to if somebody gets up in my face to be able to get out of the way.
Right.
Is
Look,
that something you could do?
say no more. Nothing would make me happier, mate. Nothing in the world except for one thing, alright? If I'm gonna do this for you,
What's that?
I want you to do something for me, alright? So, I need
Okay.
it's nothing bad. It's something you're gonna love. I need to craft a new set of armor, and I want all the bells and whistles.
Oh,
And I need help with the electrical and the computer aspect of building this armor. But the caveat there is that I don't just want to build me some armor. I want to build Xeno a matching set of APA armor. and I need some help.
That's what's up. Yeah, boy.
I mean, of course, you know I'm down for that.
All right. Well, then what were you thinking? You just want to do some slipping and hooking, right?
Yeah, just like, I know you're a boxer. Like, just teach me like all the little ducking and weaving stuff that you do. Like, I mean, I don't know how any of this shit works.
Yeah,
It's called slipping and
for
hooking.
sure. It's slipping and hooking. Look, and absolutely. All right, so here's what we're going to need. All right, you're going to need some gym clothes. I don't even know if you own any. I've got some, but they're going to be way too big. But we'll cinch you up.
I mean, I got a tank top and some jeans.
Ziva comes around the corner. He can borrow some of mine.
He can borrow a skirt. Yeah, so we're going to need... Obviously, I've already got a boxing ring. We're going to get in there a little bit. We're going to need, like, a piece of, like, elastic material. I'm not very smart about what it's called, but we're going to put a tennis ball on that thing and fucking... I'm going to pop the tennis ball at you and make you dodge it constantly. And this won't just be in the gym. This will be your day-to-day life for the next, couple weeks.
Oh my god.
And Phil says under his breath, I knew I should have talked to Oren.
I don't think Oren's going to help you the way that I can help you, mate. I'm a trainer. No, and he like claps him on the shoulder way too hard, and it's like, look, don't worry, we'll get you sorted, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that, truly.
And in the distance, you hear the montage music begin.
Don't go too long. Don't go too long. We'll get sued.
Yeah, we're gonna get that.
Here comes Sony with the copyright.
But yeah, so all that was to be able to take the mobility feat, which you gain a +4 bonus to your armor class against attacks of opportunity that you provoke by leaving a threatened square.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
So you guys are going through all this training, right? And we'll say maybe the third night, you guys are, spent in a good way. You feel good about the training you've done, and you all convene back in the galley for another meal. You're eating, you're not saying much, just kind of eating, getting some energy back, putting down those Cliff Bars and green tea, like really, really feeling it. And in comes Letra Machinatamal. And he just kind of like slurps his way up to a stool on the table. He looks around at each of you and he says,
Well, I thought for sure we were dead. Probably should have been. Thanks for saving me, I guess.
Oh god, I hate it.
I thought I was gonna die, and I'm glad that I'm not dead, and I'm eating with you.
Zeno passes him a paper towel.
We'll fucking see ya.
What's his name
Do
again?
the Tyson in the outro. Do the Tyson real quick.
Look, I was slipping and hooking and slipping and hooking and slipping and hooking, and eventually I was successful.
There it is. All right. See y'all next week.
Oh, God.
We'll see ya.
This episode has been sponsored by Roll20. This is how we roll.